Welcome to the Theater of Others podcast. My name is Adam Marple, and I'm the co-artistic director of the Theater of Others. With the COVID-19 pandemic forcing a shutdown and reevaluation of space and gathering, we at the Theater of Others are thinking about what stories we need and how best we can share them. We believe space is psychology, and it informs the way in which an audience interacts and reacts to what is presented to them. We create uniquely theatrical events in bespoke sensory performance spaces crafted to encourage curiosity and grant the audience permission to commune with the play. Now that space has moved online, how can we encourage interaction and action amongst an audience virtually? The Theater of Others produces plays that both welcome and challenge the audience. We are committed to international collaboration and are a laboratory that helps artists grow through intensive study of their craft. The Theater of Others creates a shared community of artists and audiences for the purpose of exploring the most profound issues of our lives and times. We believe the play watches the audience. The audience is necessary, and they are witness to what happens. And you get to be witness to us making that happen. The purpose of this podcast is to open up our process and let you in. We're peeling back the curtain, so to speak, and encouraging you to follow along, to ponder, prod, and question, to join us and criticize us if need be. Being a witness is no passive task, and it requires much from you. Are you up for the journey? On the podcast today from Melbourne, Australia, our co-artistic directors Budi Miller and myself in Cairo, Egypt. This podcast contains explicit language.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Budi.
How you going?
Saturday.
It's Saturday, it's Saturday, yay, 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 yay. It's beginning to be Saturday for you. It's the end of Saturday for me.
It's midday Saturday for me. Was it a good Saturday?
It was a good Saturday. It's a really good Saturday. I spent it hanging out with Akshay and Obama and our cousin Kritika, Katie.
Nice.
Yeah. We went to the market. We went to the Warren Dyke Market, and then we went and looked at her new house. She just bought a new house.
Very nice.
She and Dinesh just bought a new house. But I hadn't seen it yet, so we went to the neighborhood, and it's very nice. It's not meth and stab, which is always a plus.
That's good.
I swear, it's like the favorite like catchphrase that Akshay likes to like determine if a neighborhood is safe or not. Meth and stab or not. At first I was like, meth and stab? That sounds like a good neighborhood.
No. I don't want either one of those things in my neighborhood. Thank you very much.
But usually people that have meth and stab, like the clubs are there.
Not really. You're not clubbing with meth heads who will stab you.
Girl. Well, the defining factor here in Australia is that they're parking their cars on the grass.
Ugh. Heathens.
Yeah, I hate you. Blech.
Ugh. Yeah.
I just get tickled because, I just remember driving through Detroit in the 80s and 90s.
I'm just remembering the play that you sent me. There's a scene inside of it. I think it's what is it? The Call, where there's a scene between an Albanian guy and an Australian guy, and he's talking about, I'm going back to Albania. He's like, you've never been to Albania? He's like, yeah, but I'm Albanian in my heart. You Australians, you have it so easy here. You don't have any struggles at all. We have struggles. No, you don't. Yeah, we do. It's sunny every single day here, and you can go surfing. We have concerns as well. Yeah, I'm just thinking of that scene.
Great play.
Mm.
The Call, great play. Very, very good play. Who playwright? What's her name?
Oh, I don't even.
Oh
I
my
don't even
God,
have
I'm
access
drawing a
to it right
blank.
now.
What's her name? Her name. Come on, Australians.
Hold
Call in
on,
and tell us.
Call us. We'll wait. We'll wait for you.
Caller,
Hold
you
on.
say what? Like Oprah. In the old days when Oprah used to take callers. Caller, you say what?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Uh, uh, Oh my
Oh, hold on.
God.
I got it. Patricia
I'm drawing
Cornelius.
a blank. Yes, Patricia Cornelius. Oh, I'm gonna get so much shit. I'm gonna get so much shit from the Aussies that I couldn't remember Patricia
It's
Cornelius.
okay.
She's one of
You'll be
our
fine.
greats. I'm gonna be ghosted by all of my theater friends.
It's
Like
okay.
I'm not already ghosted. Oh, oh wait. There's something I'm supposed to do on the podcast. We are doing a auction.
Mm-hmm.
There's an auction for the Visit and Encompass Collective, and
Yes.
all the proceeds go to
Scholarships.
the scholarships. So let me just see where Taylor sent it to me, and I told him that I would plug it on the podcast.
When's it close?
Well, they're gonna when's it close? When it closes, I think it's open until it's open.
Oh, until they it's open until they fund it.
Yeah, because some things are like the mask is almost like it's going well. Like there's a barong mask that's like people are totally like um bidding on it, but no one's bidding on the really good stuff like like Chris Bays's like summer program. Private coaching with me. Those are really good, y'all, and they're discounted. You're getting discount rates. Okay, where is it? Where is it? Did he put it? Maybe it's on. Maybe it's on. Let's see. Ah, here it is. I'm gonna put the link in the. I'm gonna send it to you, Adam.
Don't send it to me. Won't do me any good.
I'm gonna send it to you to put into the.
Send to Jack. I don't have anything to do with it.
To put it. I just sent to the. It's called the Bidding for Free Charity Fundraising Auction. Okay. So basically, go down into the show notes, y'all, and you can bid on some really awesome stuff. There's a painting there. There's some books. There's a signed book by Christopher Bays on the Discovering the Clown. There's some really good stuff on there, but all the money goes to proceeds for free scholarships for people to train at the barn this summer. So it's really, really, really good, and it's all tax deductible.
There you go.
Um, so that's the one plug that I was supposed to give, and then also, also you need to also sign up for the mask workshop that I'm doing with Fabio, the voice and Fitzmaurice voice work and mask work that we're doing for decolonizing training. So if you want to have 7 weeks, 2 days a week, and go deep, deep, deep into the mask work, sign up. We have a few places. We have a few places left. Yeah, boss. Yeah, yeah. Come and sign up. Sign up for the workshop, boss. Yeah. I feel like I feel like a traveling sales stress. Like I'm like everyone know all about all the things, and it's like I just want to be pretty, Adam. I just want to be pretty. I don't want to be a sales lady today. I don't want to sell perfume. I feel like I'm standing at the entrance to Hudson's, DH Hudson's in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the department store,
Ooh, that's
selling
a deep dive.
perfume. Ooh, yeah, girl.
That's
DH
a deep dive.
Hudson's. It's DH Hudson's.
You go there after church and get your picture taken.
At
In
Ola
your church
Mills.
in your church clothes.
Yeah, in your church clothes with your family.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Barbara had a new baby, so we had to take some photos.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have the one with the ghost, the phantom picture in the corner.
Somebody looking, some disembodied head, some Wizard of Oz head looking off in the distance that way. Exactly. Yeah.
And we loved that. We used to think that was amazing.
That was the one. Yeah. That was the one.
That was like technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Them glamour shots. Ooh, glamour shots.
Oh my God.
How big could you make your hair? Oh yeah.
Right? Exactly. I love the 80s. We tore it up in the 80s. Oh my God, we look so good. That's why people keep bringing it back because the 80s was amazing.
You say so?
You were a child in the 80s. You don't know. You were in a diaper. You were
You
in
know,
diapers in the 80s.
here's the thing. Everybody thinks that 80s was neon. I remember 80s being a lot of browns and oranges. Don't you remember what McDonald's looked like? It was all like green and brown shag carpet. It was all like this burnt orange color everywhere. Romper room. You look at like there weren't bright colors in the 80s. That was late 80s going into the 90s. That's when neon started to come around.
Take it easy, Wheezy.
It was
Neon, leg warmers, rayon,
that was part of it. But it was mostly
aerobics,
yeah, but
aerobics,
it was mostly ugly brown. I don't know what happened, but do
aerobics. I just have to say, aerobics. Do you remember the aerobic
you remember those station
competitions?
wagons with the wood paneling?
Yes. The red wagon with wood paneling. Oh, the
Yeah.
station wagons, the actual cars. I was
Yeah.
thinking of the
Yeah.
wagons.
No, no,
Yes,
no,
I
no. The
remember those
station
station
wagons
wagons. Yes.
with the wood paneling. Yeah.
But that's 70s. That's not 80s. That's
I fell out
early
of
'80s.
I fell out of one of those in the early 80s. It had the
They bought
because
it in the '70s, though.
the door opened up from the back.
They
It
bought
wasn't
it in
what
the '70s, Adam.
well,
They
maybe.
bought it in the '70s.
It was all brown.
But that's because you were poor. You were a poor white child. Y'all couldn't afford color.
Couldn't afford color. we we worked our way up to color in the 90s.
Exactly.
Moving
You
on
couldn't
up
afford neon.
to
You were a poor
color.
white child. Poor white child growing up in the South.
Hmm.
You couldn't afford neon.
That's right. I was that Elvis song. I was the poor black
What's
babe
that song?
the poor black babe in the streets of the ghetto. In the
What?
ghetto. You don't know this song? You don't know
Elvis.
Elvis. This is an Elvis song. In the
Sick.
ghetto.
What?
You don't know this song? You have to look this song up.
He's white. I don't listen to Elvis. What is the song?
In the ghetto.
Sing it.
I don't. All I know is the chorus. In the ghetto. In the ghetto.
He's
Go listen
got
to it.
his nerve.
Open it up. Listen to it.
Elvis Presley has got his nerve.
It's a good song.
He stole that from Little Richard. He stole that song from Little Richard.
Of course he did. He was working with all of them, taking everything that he could.
Wow. Wow. I still like the boundless privilege of fat white guys.
He wasn't fat when he sang that song, but yes,
He was because he was in the ghetto. He couldn't afford to be fat.
that's right. Exactly. At that point, he was skinny. Yeah.
Ah! Oh man. You know,
Um.
America's a mess, Adam. The more I look at that country, like and like the history of our country, it's a mess. It's a mess, girl.
Yeah. As the snow flies on a cold and gray Chicago morning, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto. In the ghetto. And his mama cries because if there's one thing that she don't need, it's another hungry mouth to feed in the ghetto. Please don't you understand the child needs a helping hand, or he'll grow to be an angry young man someday. Take a look at you and me. Are we too blind to see? Do we simply turn our heads and look the other way? Well, the world turns and a hungry little boy with a runny nose plays in the street as the cold wind blows in the ghetto. And his hunger burns, so he starts to roam the streets at night, and he learns how to steal and he learns how to fight in the ghetto. Then one night, in desperation, the young man breaks away. He buys a gun, steals a car, tries to run, but he don't get far. And his mama cries as the crowd gathers round an angry young man face down on the street with a gun in his hand in the ghetto. And as her young man dies on a cold and gray Chicago morn, another little baby child is born in the ghetto. In the ghetto.
But you don't say poor. He doesn't say poor black child.
He doesn't say poor black child.
You put that in there. I thought he said poor black child. I was like, well, now what I hear, that's a sad song.
Exactly. It's a good song.
Now, if he said "poor black child," it would have been a different story. It would have been a different story.
There is a version out there where he did say black. There's a re-release.
Why? It was fine without. It was fine without the black.
1969.
Like I said, when he brought out the black child, was he fat? Was he fat when the black child part came out?
This was probably his Vegas years. This original song came.
Was he fat?
Probably in Vegas. He was fat in Vegas. But this is 1969 is pre-Vegas. This is post MLK and RFK dying. So that's when he was in his social protest Elvis period.
Oh, this is the thing. I know nothing about Elvis Presley. All I know is about wop babaloo bob balop bamboo.
It's okay. We don't need to know anything about Elvis Presley.
It's funny because I was never really, and I'll probably get canceled by the Elvis Presley fans.
No, I was the same way. I'm from the South. I've been to his mansion 4 times and not really an Elvis fan. Yeah. That's what you do. You go to Graceland. It's a big disappointment, but you go there, you do that.
Is it still alive? Do people still go to Graceland?
Of course, absolutely. Lines around the block every single day.
No.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. Now Dolly.
Yeah.
You can't touch Dolly.
Mm-hmm.
Dolly Parton
mm-hmm.
lives rent free in my whole body.
Absolutely. She's a saint. Saint Dolly.
Saint Dolly. We love our Dolly. Come on now.
We love Dolly.
I know you heard Beyonce's new album.
Of course I heard Beyonce's new album. We talked about it last time.
Oh, that's right.
I think it's a great album.
I keep listening to it.
Good. And
what's your favorite song?
Everybody was like, oh, this like I said before, 16 Carriages, the chorus gets stuck in my head, which is a good thing and a bad thing. And American Requiem. Ooh, but the one where she sings opera on, like it's not a country album, folks. It's not. It's so many genres in this album. To define it as a country album alone is to sell it short. It's so much more. It changes genres and hops around so much. Yes, it dips into to country, but even in these country songs, she's dipping into some like funk and some other things, and she's doing some really cool stuff with this one. It's really lovely.
The opera, she's like she's doing. What's amazing about the opera section is she's actually doing a riff off of a classic Italian opera song.
Mm-hmm. It's actual opera.
It's a riff off of Ave Maria.
No, it's not Ave Maria. When she goes, it is an Italian.
No, it's a riff of it because there's a part that goes "Don credio da 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 da," and that's da 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 credilo pur. There's this whole thing. There's this whole section that she's riffing off of. That my little like classically trained ear when I was doing voice lessons as a kid and I had to sing these Italian songs. It was like popping into my head, which is so much fun because it's like what's fun is that it's showing how much of a music nerd she is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love about this album. Out of all the albums she's ever done, we get to see how much of a music lover, music fan, and a music nerd.
Yeah.
Her nerdiness is coming out in this, and I am so down with it.
It's a good album.
Now for audience, what do you think about how she feels about her audience?
Which audience?
The people that are listening to her music, her fans. That's her audience, right? And the world really is her audience.
Well, that's exactly it, because she's spreading a wide net. She's not alienating who she already has. She's expanding who she already has as vocabulary. And she's also trying to dip into new audiences that don't think that anything is for them. that don't think that they're Beyonce's music is Beyonce's music, and I don't like Beyonce's music. And it's like, I don't know how you listen to this and don't find something that you like. And people who
Yeah.
think, well, I don't listen to country, listen to this album, go, I don't know how you can say you don't listen to country now. And yeah, I think she's doubled down on what she has and expanding what she has. And she's like, there's a reason she's queen. And there's a reason she'll be on the podcast
There
one day.
is. I'm sorry. There is a reason she's the queen. There is a reason she's the queen. Just deal with it. Just deal
Yeah.
with it. Just deal with it. Accept it.
Yeah. I don't know of anybody else that could pull this off. Could be as prolific as that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because she so freely moves around with style
Yeah.
and creates her. Okay. We've been using the word style and genre. How do you define style? How do you define genre, Adam Marple?
But I don't. I try not to define either one of those two things. Yeah, well, I mean, she talks about style. I mean, that song with Linda Martell on there about style. Style can be constraining, or style can be liberating, but it usually ends up constraining. Um, and I think that's what this whole album is about. Was that Spaghetti, where she says that this whole album is about music is music. Don't define me. Like, I can do it all because I'm interested in it all. I have this lived experience coming from Texas, leaving, going someplace, being in pop, living in New York. I know these people. I'm out there. I'm working. This whole album, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because of that. So, um, yeah, I don't know. Defining style, defining genre. I think that's a red herring. I think that's a trap. I feel like I'm hoping that in this century that we become far more fluid with the idea of style and genre. That being siloed into anything is detrimental, and that fluidity of it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, without being hodgepodgey. That there's rap on this album, there's opera on this album, there's clear old country roots, there's new country roots, there's Zydeco. What is this album? And the thing is, I don't care what this album is. It's just good. What is this album? It's good. It's not a country album. It's a Beyonce album, as she said. So yeah, I feel like I'm hoping that style and genre are something that we maybe move away from in this century. Maybe this is what the century is. I don't know.
Well, I think this is really interesting as we segue into, the different calls that we had come in, some feedback.
Yeah.
Because it's a question that I think will constantly plague artists until the end of time, of like, who is this for?
Yeah.
Why am I doing it? What is it for? And how do I interact with with my audience?
True that. Yes, exactly.
So, Adam Marple, what are we doing? What are we going to talk about today?
Oh, we're answering some calls and some questions finally. I've been holding on to these for a little while. People have been coming in and thinking, "Oh, they're not answering my questions." We just wanted to have enough to like make an entire episode out of these things, and it just happened to all kind of be around a couple of episodes that we've had the last couple months. So we're going to be talking about audience making and definition of theater and intimate theater. Last kind of my solo podcast that I did, and talking about, yeah, as you just said, who are we doing this for, and how do we understand who it is when we're doing this, when we're across the footlights from them, or sharing space with them, sharing time with them. How do we know who they are, and how do we engage them instead of ignore them? Yeah.
So, who's the first person?
All right, so we will listen to our first call-in from Al-Hafiz Sanusi, who has called us before, and lovely to have him back. asking
Hi,
us
Alfie.
asking us about a project he's got coming up later on this year and how he can prep the audience and understand that audience when they come in. So let's listen to it now.
Hello, Adam and Budi. It's my first time speaking. Forgive me in advance for any rambling. It's not really a question, but a love letter to Adam and to a particular episode I've listened and re listened to, and will continue to re listen in months ahead. I may stumble to a question by the end. So, I have many favorite episodes, but one in particular, episode 195, the audience making, is one that I keep going back to get new ideas from each re listen. I've actually shared this episode to friends, work colleagues, and artistic collaborators who have seen the merit and importance of this conversation and how the elements are actually transferable to other fields. How it resonates with me? Well, for myself and a group of us, we're actually working towards building a festival here. Shout out to the Singapore Improv Festival happening from the 26th to 29th September. So we are considering the community and the festival experience, knowing that our audiences are coming from Singapore and from overseas. And taking inspiration from you, Adam, how do we create a community of audience and performers even before they enter the space, perhaps even before they come to Singapore? So maybe the question I have here is, since you and Budi have done a show in Dubai and other international festivals, are there questions that a theatre maker needs to consider, such as country or culture, when it comes to international audience? Because I imagine the why here would be different, right? It's like, why am I coming to this country in order to watch this show? So do we look at it as one big community, or do we separate local audience and international audience?
Okay. Okay, Al Hafiz. Well, first of all, thank you for plugging episode 195. Hello, audience making episode 195. If you haven't listened to it, get on it, y'all. Get on it. Clearly, it's an impactful episode where people can continue to go back because we are what? An educational podcast because we are what? Sickening.
Okay.
We are a sickening educational podcast.
That's right.
And I think that's a fantastic question. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic question because I think
so too.
the enthusiasm of wanting to have an audience of wanting the audience to have an experience needs to interact with the audience that is present. And I think when you know your audience, it's easier to make assumptions on how they're going to interact with you as the performer. And I think one of the things I'll give you an example, and it's from what we did in Dubai. And I spoke to Stephen Gottlieb about this because there's a part in the play where it's like a play within a play where someone that's going on this relocation sojourn has written a play, and to get people to calm down while they're trying to figure out what's happening on the holdup of why they're not able to get to their next ship yet. There's a performance in the holding area, and Galtney really doesn't like that section. And what happened is what that play what the play within a play did was it helped people that because Scotland likes to have more interaction where like you're moving in and out of the audience and you're talking to people and you're all up close. And but there was a woman who was at one of the performances and she had never seen theater before, and she was like, first she thought Rutasha was like really upset. She was like, is she okay? Was that real? No, it wasn't real. And she's like, oh, the play, like that was what was happening there. And what was interesting is that form of or that convention that we put inside a performance allowed the audience to have a sense of interaction without physically being interacting with us. And when you're dealing with an audience, say a primarily um, Middle Eastern audience, where the men getting close to women physically, depending on how conservative your audience is, and we have some pretty conservative audience members. But and even that person that was interacting with me and talking about that experience, she was at a very high level person. So like, touching her is definitely a no-no. But what happened is, because of the actual convention that we had inside the play, it gave them the sense that they were interacting and playing with us. So, and that once again happened as not us knowing that that was going to be the result, but it was a discovery that happened within the doing of it. And I find that what often happens with us as a company is we have an idea about something, and then we assess afterwards. And so we're able to understand audience a lot more because audience has always been something that is a part of our company. But also, when it doesn't work, we interact with why it doesn't work, and we intuitively know how to adjust something for our next performance. So I'd say, uh, go with your gut. You'll if it's telling you, oh, that would be really interesting, let's go there. Or if it's feeling like, oh, that could be really, I don't know. I would say talk to others about how they would feel about that. One of the things that we have is we have as a company, we have a huge creative network where we ask each other, and we check in with each other, going, so what do you think about this, what do you think about that? So trust your team, and be courageous, and trying to give an event that allows people to commune. I think if you keep the community and the sense of communing and storytelling and um sharing space with each other and being a live performance together, I think you'll be fine. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, well, I mean, what's the need? What's the need you're trying to address? That's where you got to start. I think you're talking about communities, you're talking about international communities, and you're talking about local Singaporean communities. But instead of thinking of it that way, if you think of it as a community of improvers and non-improvers, that's a different audience to go for instead. Um, there's communities of culture, there's communities of place, and there's communities of understanding. And a lot of those people are coming to that festival because they love improv. And that's where you can start from. You don't have to go, okay, well, what if I got a bunch of Germans coming and I've got some people from China coming and I got, there's a different understanding. Celebrate that understanding of improv. Improv will be different every single place. And instead of trying to accommodate culturally every single place, accommodate the culture of what they are coming there for. I had a friend who was doing a kind of a trying to bring people together in a city, Milwaukee, of showing like how these different organizations in the city and these different kind of NGOs and different stakeholders in the city could kind of work together. And they came in, and she gave them different colored string. And so if you were from the city, you got a color string, and if you're not originally from that city, you get a different color string. And if you were above a certain age and you were below a certain age, and if you lived in the north side of the city and the south side of the city, and you had to basically like take your string on like a little pegboard and carve out the name of the city with your string. And by the end of it, you could start to see like, wow, there's a lot of people in this city not from this city based off of the color. But together, we've all spelled out the name of the city. All of us are needed to be here for this event to make this city what it is. So, what's something that you do before you even begin to celebrate all of you being improvers, all of you loving improv, all of you being there for that, no matter where you're from? And then once you find that commonality, that connection, then you divide it up and you say, great, now where are you from? What's going on? What is improv like in Germany? What's improv like in China? What's improv like wherever you are? Um, yeah, find the commonality of what is bringing them all there, and then um, look for those beautiful, beautiful differences to celebrate and share. Yeah, what's the need? What is the need you're trying to address before you do anything else? We always talk about why, but before why is what's the need? What's the need you need to address with it? Yeah.
Send us some questions. Good luck with your event,
Yeah.
Feast. Send us more questions. We love hearing your voice.
Indeed.
Who's next?
And on that, still on episode 195, we have a email. And this one is from Vinyash Singh. Dear Adam and Budi, thank you for episode 195, The Audience Making. I thought the ideas you brought forth were refreshing, and I got a lot out of it. To answer your question, I am interested in this pedagogy and would like to support you in any way that I can. Personally, I also enjoyed how you connected the marketing to the artistic process. I find retaining people's interest such a challenge when trying to create community. It got me thinking about a performance that I'm presently incubating at the Art Ground, a non-profit arts organization that centers their work around children in Singapore. I was wondering if you could share your thoughts with me on a few things related to my process as a fellow theater maker. The working title for this show is Eat Play, and it's a show about playing with food. My target audience for this piece are children 5 to 12 years old, parents, caregivers, and educators. This is my primary question, my why. As parents, caregivers, are we able to let go of a little bit of control to allow children more opportunities for play, autonomy, and freedom in their daily lives? There's a growing culture in Singapore of overprotection when it comes to raising children. While I understand and empathize with caregivers and the worry they must feel over their loved ones, I sometimes feel that their own personal anxieties and their need for control takes precedence over everything else. This is something I personally struggle with when I used to teach drama to preschoolers myself. Some of the examples of the overprotection include things like, don't climb on trees, don't get dirty when you play, don't touch things from the outdoors, and the most popular being, don't play with your food. There are many other examples such as air tagging children so we can identify their location at all times, or things like leashes for babies. Seeing as it's the most universal, most exciting for me as an artist and the audience I'm engaging, I decided to focus on this idea of playing with food. However, since the war, I've struggled to continue developing this show responsibly. How can I possibly encourage and make a show about playing with such a precious resource like food when families are not having their basic needs met? Hence, I'm trying to find more purposeful ways to engage this issue responsibly. One of my ideas has been to pair my performance with a composting workshop for children and families post-performance. While I'm minimizing the food waste generated from this show, there will be still some food waste. I figured this might be an opportunity to learn about composting. In general, in Singapore, we do not yet have a culture of composting. Everything goes down the rubbish chute. Honestly, having this email and communicate my thoughts to you has already made a wonderful opportunity for me to refine my agenda and clarify my thoughts. Thanks for reading this lengthy email. Warmest, Vinish.
Wow, what a great email.
Yeah. I like that. I like that he kind of found it for himself by the end in crafting that email. But yeah, that's really interesting work.
Yeah, I think playing with food and composting is a really good combo.
Yeah,
that's a great combination.
Or finding
AirTag your kids.
Oh yeah,
they AirTag the kids in Singapore. AirTag your kids in Singapore. Where are they gonna go?
I know. Safe Singapore, I know. Yeah. And leash them as well and have little squeaky shoes on them with lights. Yeah. Yeah.
AirTag your kids. I AirTag my mask trunks. I don't AirTag people. You know, they're using AirTags to like kidnap women. Did you hear about that?
No.
Julie Elijah Martinez was telling me that that's what people are doing. So like, they'll like stick it on someone's car and then like they'll follow the car. This is New York. This is the method stab.
Wow.
Yeah. So back to the email.
Yes.
Back to the email. Just the air tagging. This makes me. It's just like air tag your kids. Well, and I think that's a challenge. I God bless you for being that teacher that can work with children that young. That is like my worst nightmare.
Same.
I bless you. Thank you for doing the hard work for us.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think if it's structured in a way where everyone gets to be messy, including the parents, like everyone gets like, a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
and then you can just and then and the kind of things that you can be messy with is you can be messy with like bananas and like fresh fruit, but also you can be messy with like frosting is fun. It's sugary, it's messy, and you can have food fights. But I think the the why is a challenge, because if you're dealing with a culture of parents that want to understand what is the learning outcome for my children,
Mm.
it's that it's got to be purely entertaining. So I think if you make it a clown show, it can be really fun, because
Yeah.
clowns can get messy. Clowns show how silly we are, and clowns get permission from serious people to do silly things. So if you put it in that style of as if I never knew the meaning of the word no, that's the clown brain. That's the clown world. I think that's what will give you permission. And then if you also are using it, you can honestly use the conversation with what you were talking about in your email. You know, you know, post-war, food wastage, and how that can lead into, as you were talking about in the email, composting. And also having the conversation of exactly what is food wastage, because people might think that they're not wasting food, but they are. you know and then the clown can have fun with food in a very simple way, and then kids can play with you as well, and then you can have a conversation around it while getting messy, while smushing bananas in your hands. You can have a conversation around it, and then maybe even you could even um it could be a cooking show, and so instead of using utensils, you use your hands. Like, you make bread, you make banana bread, you mush everything together, and it's messy, but you're still playing with your food, and it's going to end up being food that we can eat later. Those
Make
are those are my suggestions. What about you,
make
Adam?
everything that's tedious fun. Like the whole sign in process, the whole like getting in, like you said, a hazmat suit. Like, mom and dad don't have to worry about their polo shirts or whatever. Like, we've got it all taken care of. You're gonna get messy. It's gonna be fun. Take all the tedium out of it and all the things that will be tedious, and make them even more fun that way. Um, yeah, team up with it. Find a restaurant or a farm that you can work with in this way, that that they can show you what food wastage is, and then how food wastage can be used for animals or something like that. I mean, there are
Yeah,
farms in
feeding the
Singapore.
animals, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
or
cool. That's a great idea.
a lot of these new parks in Singapore have gardens and community supported gardens. So what does it mean to compost there on site? Like, everything should be, the child should not see tedium in this, and even the parents should see that, oh yeah, this can actually be really fun, as long as I don't think of it as messy, as if messy becomes a way of being and being fun that way. um yeah, I think there's a lot that you can do with this. I think, yeah, learning outcomes have to be pure entertainment for the child, of showing what that recycling can be fun, that composting can be fun, that playing with your food can be fun, as long as it's not just being wasted and thrown away. This is what we do if we play with our food. Here's how the cycle of food goes on to the animals, or here's what at the end of a day is at a restaurant. Oh my gosh, there's so much that could be done with this. Why is this being thrown away? Um, I think that's a really cool thing. Yeah, you have to answer that question of what's the need that you're trying to answer. To You have two constituents here. You have children and you have the parents, and in a way, the children are going to buy in as long as the parents buy in. So it's the parents that you got to get wanting to be a kid again. And I think Budi's idea of a clown show of not ever hearing the word no, and anything that's tedious, is actually more fun than the fun things. That's the way to go with it.
Yeah, fantastic. Great email. Who's next?
Cool. So we got another call in, and this is for our episodes where we've been talking about the definition of theater. So, long time listener, first time caller, Lucian Reader.
Yay!
Hi, Budi. Hi, Adam. I'm a long-term listener of the Theatre of Others podcast. My name's Lucian, and I'm an actor from Melbourne, Australia. I wanted to throw a little ideas kernel into the definition of theatre to see what you guys think about it. There's this unspoken rule or understanding that spectators, audience members, willing participants have with players, and that understanding is created by the players. Walking into a bricks and mortar space such as a proscenium arch theatre or a traverse stage, or even spaces which are created on the street, out in local environments or site-specific buildings, such as when Budi performed at the Gallery of New South Wales. Participants and players, there was a clear understanding between everybody not to walk into this space, to watch from this space. And I was wondering, that understanding, which isn't verbalized, I think it comes to the core of what theatre is. It's this collective agreement on what's going to take place and how to participate, but it's done in a way which is non-verbal, usually. So wondering, that understanding that occurs, what happens when it's broken and players start moving into spaces which beforehand were not designated for them? Or the opposite way, when participants or audience members traverse that area, that understanding, that agreement, break that agreement, and what that does to theatre. Does it break it, or does it enhance it, or does it change the whole reality? That breaking of the fourth wall, how is that fourth wall agreed upon, and is there room for that kind of idea in the definition of theatre? Cheers.
Okay. Well, now you know what it was like being in class with Lucian, because this is this is class. Like, you bring one thing, Lucian, but yeah, but I love you, Lucian. Good, good, good. Keep sending these in. Yes. I think, I think we have a aesthetic um conversation that needs to be had, because I was really feeling the nonverbal communication, because that's also what Fabi and I were talking about 2 episodes ago, about that complicité, that nonverbal agreement that happens between two or more, a nonverbal understanding that happens between two or more people. It's complicité. Thank you, Fabio Mata. Um, and I think that complicity is definitely something that it happens between an audience and a performance. And but then it shifted for me. The second part was like, oh, you brought in the fourth wall. Like, I was like, but you were thinking
Yeah.
so broadly before in the first one, and I think there's an aesthetic value that um uh I want to talk about, Adam. Is, it's like, and I can completely relate to this, because this is just like, remember when I misidentified Daniel Banks with another teacher.
Yes.
Yeah. And I had to write that essay, and he had me write an essay, and he went at me because as in undergrad, I was writing about, talking about theater from a proscenium stage, that was just like, all theater comes from, and he was like, really, all theater has a proscenium stage? And then, he was challenging me, and I would challenge you, Lucian, all theater has a fourth wall.
Right.
And that's an unspoken agreement that everyone has when they go into the theater. I think that's a limited aesthetic agreement. And I don't know if all audiences go into a performance with that agreement. I think a space can dictate that. A space can really dictate that. And a space will tell us how it wants to be used, especially if the company is aware of the power of the actual space that they're performing in. Um, and I love this. I love this question of what happens when the agreement is broken, because that's something I'm interested in. And that's where my question about the aesthetic style of the fourth wall come into play. Of like, yeah, that's one of the first things I love breaking, to activate the complicity between audience and performance. So with a definition, I like the provocation you were giving us, Lucian, around the unspoken agreement. I think there's something in there with our definition around the acknowledgement of the transaction that's happening between performance and audience. What do you think, Adam? What say you?
I'm gonna focus on this kind of thing as well, because why is it unspoken? This is the problem that this is the problem that the theater continuously gets into, is we go back to assumption. How are you going to watch this play? Well, you watch this play like you watch every other play. I assume you've been to a play before, in a proscenium in the dark between the hours of 8 and 11, where you turned your phone off and sat quietly and respectfully with no noise, and then got up and then told all your friends about it. Like, that's the problem. It's the unspoken. And so, yes, there are problems when you break the fourth wall in an unspoken situation, because this is not the agreement that we had when I came into this theater. So now I'm taken aback, which is interesting. It's a possibility of breaking something open and being something new, but it's also possibly jarring and just novel. What happens afterwards? So you never had an agreement, so you've broken the agreement, and you're doing something different. Now you have a chance to make a new agreement. What do you do with it? What happens after that break? So I think be careful with saying there's a nonverbal agreement. That's the problem. Why is it nonverbal? Why are we trying to, I mean, unless it really is about that surprise. And that's a very different thing. That's a different conversation to have.
Well, think about the Apollo Theater. It's not a nonverbal agreement. It's like, it is a very, very vocal interaction.
Absolutely.
And when you don't like it, you boo the person off the stage.
But imagine you were a German couple coming in and going, "Oh, I want to go see some theater. I hear this Apollo Theater is very lively. Let me go and see what it is." They don't know what that agreement is. But the audience knows what the agreement is, and the energy of that space knows what that agreement is. There's a non-verbal agreement of a street performer that you don't go up and punch them. But what are the other agreements with that? That space is constantly being redefined by the audience. Is it a thing where you clap? Do you pay after a song? It's always in flow and fluid. It's the proscenium. It's the colonial idea of what a theater is, where it's trapped, and those assumptions become a problem. I think don't make it nonverbal. Open up those assumptions, break those assumptions from the beginning. I always talk about Sleep No More. You go in, you get a drink before you start, you're sitting down listening to some jazz music. This is what the foyer, this is what the lobby of the theater is. Then you have to put up all of your stuff, and they give you a mask, and they say you can do anything. All of the assumptions of what theater is have been broken. Or I go down the road to Broadway, and I stand in line, and they give me a playbill, and I sit in a seat, and the lights go down, and I'm quiet between the hours of 8 and 11. Unless the agreement is different from the beginning. So, yes, you can absolutely do any of these things, but stop making the nonverbals nonverbal. Don't make assumptions, break assumptions. Do it from the beginning, unless it is about a surprise, and then you have made a new contract with the audience. What do you do with it afterwards? Is it just one break, and then that's it? That's all you've done with it? Okay, interesting. That's my
Well,
thought.
I keep going back to my favorite moment to the play. You keep saying you hated directing it, but there was a moment that we had that was extraordinary. Dissocia. That moment will be forever one of the most amazing theater moments that we came up. That was our first collaboration.
Yeah, it was. And that moment was a big defining moment for both of us. I think so, especially in how we work with each other.
And also how, remember when the head of acting, she freaked out and made us change it because it was unsafe for the audience?
Exactly.
So what did we do, Adam? What was unsafe for the audience?
We just stopped the show and sat. We had the actors just sit there and stare back at them. We just had them drop character and be present for as long as they could possibly hold it. And it was confronting to the audience because the audience was very aware of themselves being an audience all of a sudden. We brought up the house lights and we just sat there. We didn't announce that it was an intermission. We didn't announce the show was over. We didn't announce that the show was still on. It just paused. We were in limbo. It was purgatory for a little while, for as long as it could possibly hold, and then we jumped back into the show.
Yeah. When people were like, got up and they were discombobulated, and what did it do? It made the audience understand what it feels like to be a person that has bipolar disorder, any kind of chemical imbalance to where they're losing reality at the drop of a hat, and they can't decipher what is real and what is not real, what mania feels like.
Yeah. That was the idea behind it. I mean, everything before that moment was all zany and kooky and whatever and fine. And then there was that moment, and then there was back to zany and kooky and weird. And then the second act is a completely different act altogether as well. This stillness, exactly. Yeah. So it's not like we had an agreement and then we broke the agreement and then we never got to agreement. We were constantly breaking agreements. What is this play about? Yeah. This play seems whimsical and fun, but it's dangerous. This play is starts out realistic and then goes to a cartoon, and then you have this meta theatrical moment at the middle, and then all of a sudden it's pure naturalism. Like we were trying to constantly break that because that is what I felt what the playwright was asking for.
Yeah, and you did a fantastic job, Adam Marple. Do we have another one?
We do. We have one more. This is an email from another new listener. I'm assuming new listener. I don't know who this person is. This is from Gerardo Campos. Hello, Adam and Budi. I've been a follower of the podcast for quite a while. There were episodes in which your thoughts really resonated with me, and I want to thank you for that, for both making me laugh and think. Episode 219 really inspired me since it's closer to the way I want to make theater, to the point I immediately wanted to send this message. We've seen in theater exercises how play and physical contact builds the trust between performers. How is the audience any different? This intimate theater is the closest we can get to fostering relationship just as we do in our everyday lives, inviting you to a special occasion, treating you with respect, sharing emotions. In a way, it becomes real without being realistic. In this case, most of the elements of the play must invite the people to play with you. This might be simple, but extremely frightening. How should I treat the audience's expectations about their role in a theater play? If this intimate theater is even more personal than a traditional production, how theater makers should embrace the audience reaction? And how does this vulnerability factor into the event? I think that precisely this vulnerability is what can make this kind of theater so great, since it promotes empathy towards the attendees. From this headspace, we can follow an intuition of what feels good, not just for us, but for the attendees. Anyhow, I love the podcast, love the episode, and hope you're doing great. Best wishes for your actual and next projects. Thank you, Gerardo.
I love this question because there's a sense of real desire to care for the audience. And I think that the best way to care for your audience in these kinds of intimate spaces is to care for them the same way you would a guest in your home.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that already breaks the binary of what we were talking about earlier about these unspoken understandings and expectations. I think start small so you can use the smaller performances and smaller audiences to as a litmus for longer runs and more audience in these kinds of spaces. I would also recommend you do some research on Adrian Howells. Adrian Howells was a friend and colleague of ours who's no longer with us. But he was an expert on giving private performances. And the way that he cared for his audience was incredible. So he would, he would like cook a meal for a group of people and invite them into like his flat. Then we had the foot washing for the soul, where he would wash your feet privately. He created this room, and he would wash the feet of the audience, and working with. So it's a different kind of intimacy, and creating a world for an audience to sink into this ritual space. It's actually a ritual space because it's an enactment of mythology, and the mythology is real life. It's like a mythological reenactment of the interaction and transaction of real life. So if you treat it with that same sense and care of a ritual space, your audience's bodies will respond to it because that's how we're designed. What say you, Adam?
Yeah, I think if we stop thinking of them as audience, we start thinking of them as guests. Then it takes so much of it takes care of itself. Hopefully you've had a dinner party before, and you've known successful dinner parties and non-successful dinner parties. And when you define for the audience, quote unquote, the audience, your guests, what that experience is going to be like, that they're coming for a dinner party, then they can already put themselves in there. But if it's going, oh, you're going to come and see a play, they will do that unspoken assumption that we just talked about with Lucien, where they go, oh, okay, I'll sit over here, you'll perform over there. So from the very beginning, the invitation has to start it. So this goes back to my audience making podcast, how you invite them to this event, how you invite them to this space, and how you greet them at that space. There's a transition that will happen between an uninformed person to an informed person, from a stranger to a guest. And it happens with the invitation, and then it happens at the door. When you get the invitation, what's the invitation like? Is it just, oh, hey, I'm going to have a play on my roof? Or is it, a big formal announcement? Or is it, how do you do that? And then once they come, the liminal space between outside and inside. Do you have staircases up? Do they need to take an elevator? Is it literally just outside door and then they're inside of your apartment? Like, what is that? And how do you transition that from you're not stranger anymore, now you're guest, and your role as guest is whatever. Like when I have dinner parties, if I have to fill up everybody's glass of water, it's going to take a long time. But if I cast somebody in my dinner party as the water filler, and their job for the night is to fill people's water glass, then one, that frees me up, and two, it gives somebody something to do. right? If you've ever been someplace, a friend's house, and they're cooking last minute or whatever, and they say, "Can you run to the store and get ice?" Now it's not just their party; it's your party as well. So having those guests actually be guests and be a part of it is one thing. The second thing is there are actual definitions of how many people a space can hold. I'm not just talking like fire marshal specifications, but like scientific specifications of like what is the gravity point of a space and what it can hold. And so you should think about what spaces you're thinking about doing this in, and then find what that number is and aim for that kind of number, because it's a small room with not a lot of people looks very large, and a big room or with a lot of people can become dangerous. So what's that good point where you can manage? What's that good point that you can manage, or you and a small team of people can manage before it feels cozy, but it doesn't feel stifling? You're looking for cozy. And then being aware, be ready to dump your entire plan at any moment's time based off of what's happening with the audience. Right? The audience, literally something could happen. They could have a coughing fit and need to leave. And like a coughing fit with 300 people in the audience is one thing. It disrupts, but like a coughing fit with like 7 people, stop the play. Why are we going to continue on? Like, let's be cognizant of what's happening. We always talk about here that we don't like that the theater that's happening isn't aware of our presence. If I was there, the show would go on. If I wasn't there, the show would go on. Here, in the intimate theater, that's not the case. So you've got to be able to dump it at any moment's time, change it, adjust it, and possibly even go, cool, what's not working, guys? You don't seem to engage with this. And have a conversation around it. That's what it is. It's really being cognizant of what's happening in the audience amongst your guests. And the fact that you're asking those questions are really good questions, and I'm glad you're interested in this just like I am.
Yeah, I'm interested in it too. I was very jealous that I couldn't be on that podcast. I was like, I want to be in this conversation.
Jack was like, Adam, can you do something? I was like, oh, yeah, I guess I'll have something I was thinking about today. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad people are liking it, because I just thought it was like, I got to get this out here. We got to get a podcast out.
Yeah, it was really good. I loved it. I was sharing it with tons of people.
Hopefully lots of people are going to do it as well. It'd be nice to hear from them.
Yes. I mean, I think that's a time for us to take a break and come back with some provocations. How's that sound, Adam Marple? Well, let's do this. Let's party.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary conforming individuals, you listen to the stereo sounds of J.D.B. Jack David Burmeister. We're back. Wow, that was very intimate music, Chiquina.
Yes.
Very intimate. I really felt that one. He's always on point. Always on point.
Indeed.
So, Adam, we're at provocations.
I mean, my provocations are going to be the same provocations that I had in these podcasts. Is share with us your excitements, your findings, your conundrums around these topics: audience making, intimate theater, the definition of theater. We want to hear more.
Yeah.
We're so excited that this, fired you up to call into us and write into us. And I'm sure there are other people out there who are interested, just as interested or excited or curious as well. So I think you guys today really shared something really neat with our listeners as well, to get them thinking about the type of work that you're thinking of doing. We're excited by that. So I would love if 2024 our audience shared a lot more of their work. Maybe they don't have questions, but you're all working, or you're working on something. I would love to hear just the ideas that are out there in our audience. So
100%.
Send them in.
100%.
Send them in.
Yes, please. Well, that's my provocation as well. I'm going to just piggyback.
Piggyback?
I'm going to piggyback.
Piggyback?
I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to piggyback, baby.
Mhm.
I'm going to piggyback on your back. And so yes, more of that, please.
More of that, please.
Ditto. And how would people be able to do this, Adam Marple?
Well, they can do like Hafiz or Lucian did today and go to speakpipe.com/theater of others. Speakpipe.com/theater of others, theater with an R-E, theater of others, all one word. Leave a 90-second voice message on there, like Hafiz did, or you can go a whole minute and a half and more. Go 2, 3, 4 options like Lucian did. If that's not your bag,
love it.
That's not how you want to do it, go like Vignesh or Gerardo did, and go podcast@theaterofothers.com. You can send a long email or short email, however you want to get in touch with us. But of course, we also take questions, and we are on Instagram, Facebook, and our website.
Instagram, y'all.
There's all kinds of ways of getting in touch with us, and we love hearing from you, as you've heard us say. But the only way they're going to know about these podcasts coming out, or these thoughts that we're having, or these initiatives that we're forming this year, are to do what, Budi? What do they need to do?
They need to subscribe.
Amen. That's right.
Hallelujah. Because we come to your inbox week, y'all. Week.
Week.
5 seasons, 3 years, week in your inbox. When you subscribe. When you subscribe. And if you really like us, you can do like my Uber driver does and give us 5 stars. You can be 5 stars, give you 5 stars. We get 5 stars. It is a zero-sum win game. Some win, some lose.
Close.
Some gain, some don't gain. But it's going to be a 0 gain, some win.
It's true.
And if you really like us, you can just leave us a comment, because the comments, y'all, they put us into an algorithm. And then all of a sudden, we go from the top 5% podcasts in the world to the top 1% podcasts in the world. And you know what that means, Adam Marple.
I do know what that means.
What does that mean, Adam Marple?
Oprah.
Yes. Oprah's coming on. Oprah's coming on. And if Oprah comes on, you know who's coming. And you know we love her.
We spent a long time talking about her today.
Hello. Yeehaw. Kicking up the grass. Miss Burger herself. Beyonce. Yes, exactly. And you know, and if Beyonce is coming, you know who she already said she was coming. Miss Michelle.
Miss Michelle
Obama. Yes, Miss Michelle Obama. So how could you not subscribe? How could you not give us 5 stars? How could you not leave us a comment that says, I want to give them 5.1 stars? How could you not, Adam Marple?
Right, exactly. What's going on? What's your problem? Why are you doing that?
Exactly.
Don't do that.
Why are you doing that?
Stop it.
Stop doing that.
Yeah. God. Come on.
Yeah. Come on.
Jeez.
Guys. Come on.
Jeez.
Come on, guys.
Come on.
Jeez, oh Pete's.
Wow.
Just scroll up while you're listening right now. Just scroll up and push 5 star. Subscribe at the top. Comment. Oh my God. It is clearly my bedtime.
Time for bed.
I love you, Adam.
I love you too.
I'll talk to you next week.
As always.
And for the rest of y'all, we'll be in your inbox because you subscribe. Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Theater Brothers podcast. Make sure to visit our website, theaterbrothers.org, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. A special thank you to Purple Planet for the music you've heard. The Theater Brothers creates a shared community of artists and audiences for the purposes of exploring the most profound issues of our lives and times. We believe the play watches the audience. The audience is necessary, and they are witness to what happens. And you get to be witness to us making that happen. The purpose of this podcast is to open up our process and let you in. We're peeling back the curtain, so to speak, and encouraging you to follow along, to ponder, prod, and question, to join us and criticize us if need be. Being a witness is no passive task and requires much from you. Are you up for the journey? Be sure to tune in next week for our next journey.